Grade Sixes, welcome to your daily lesson of mathematics brought to you by WorksheetCloud.com. I hope you guys are all well and looking forward to your lesson today. A reminder of the email address on your screen, grade6@WorksheetCloud.com. Please feel free to send me any questions or related queries. Today we're going to be looking at time. And on either side of our main theme today, we've got our warm-ups, mental maths questions, and then our finisher at the end. So without further ado, let's have a look at our warm-up activity. And I'm sure you know that you need to tell me the value of each symbol. And don't forget the question mark at the end. Right, off you go, and then press play to see how you got on. We're going to start on the third line because we know the telephone and the 10-pin bowling ball and pin are equal. And that tells us that 27 is equal to 9 plus 9 plus 9 because those symbols are equal. I'll then go to the fourth line and say 9 minus 5 is equal to 4. I know that 10 plus 4 plus 10 will give me 24. Let me just put 9 equals 9. So that we've got that on screen. And then we just fill in the numbers at the bottom. 10 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 9 multiplied by 9. And here we can have a look at the commutative law of multiplication, which means you can multiply in any order because you'll still get the same answer. So that applies for addition and multiplication. So you can go 10 times 4 is 40, 40 times 9 is 360, and then 360 times 9 is 3,240. You could also say 9 times 9 is 81, 81 times 10 is 810, and then multiply that by 4, so perhaps that makes it a little bit easier for you. Either way, you get an answer of 3,240, but the key, guys, is that you can manipulate the numbers in that final sum to make the calculation a little bit easier for yourself. Okay, let's go back and have a look at our mental maths questions for today, and those look like that. Okay, so take your time and go through those 8 questions. Make sure you check your work so you get used to practicing those checking strategies, and then press play to see how you got on. Okay guys, question number 1. We need to just keep everything in the correct columns. That's the key here. 81.9 plus 1 comma 0.075. Okay, and we should know that we need to fill in placeholders just to make the sum a little bit easier to understand. So 0 plus 5 is 5, 0 plus 7 is 7, 9 plus 0 is 9. Okay, then we get the 1 plus the 1 is 2, and 8 and 7 are added to 0, so they stay 8 and 0. So the key there was to make sure you put the number 1s in the same column. Okay, that's the most important part. Then your second question, again, this is a subtraction sum, so we're subtracting decimals, and again we just need to put the numbers in the correct columns. So a good bit of mental arithmetic practice for you. 8 minus 4 is 4, 9 minus 7 is 2. We need to borrow, and remember the decimals need to be in the same place. So that 0 becomes 10, minus 8 is 2, and 4 minus 4 is 0. Now the checking strategy, we need to do the opposite. So the opposite of subtract is add. So 4 plus 4 is 8, 7 plus 2 is 9, 2 plus 8 is 10, and 0 plus 4 is 4. So 0,224 will be correct. Okay, a long multiplication question in question number 3. And here I am going to use the column method. I don't often use the column method, but I know some of you will do. So I just want to do it for that reason. 123 times 35. Okay, and here we got 5 times 3 is 15, carry the 1. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 1 is 11. 5 times 1 is 5 plus the 6, and then the most important part is the 0, the placeholder, because now we're multiplying by a multiple of 10. 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 1 is 3. And then we need to add those, and our final answer is going to be 4,305. So you could have also done that as 123 times 30. So then 123 times 3, and then add the 0, and then 123 times 5, and then added those two answers together. That would have been another method that you could have used. Short division question next. 261 divided by 3. Okay, and we know that we use division method. So we say, how many times is 3 going to 2? Well, it doesn't. How many times is 3 going to 26? It's going to be 8 times. 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, and that leaves us with 2. And 3 goes into 21 7 times. And to check that, we can say 87 times 3. And we know 80 times 3 is 240. And 7 times 3 is 21. And that gives us 261. So we know we must be correct. Okay, next question is the addition of fractions. And straight away, you should be able to identify that the denominators are different. So 2/5 plus 1/4. My lowest common denominator is 20. 5 goes into 24 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 goes into 25 times. 5 times 1 is 5. If I add them together, I get 13/20. Then question 6, to write 0,14 as a fraction. Okay, the first thing you need to identify is 14/100. If you wanted to simplify it, or if the question said in its simplest form, you would have needed to write 7/50. Question 7, 156 divided by 100. Okay, so we need to know that when we divide a number by 10, 100, or 1,000, it becomes smaller. When I divide it by 100, it becomes 2 places smaller. So that's 1,56. And then 3 times 6 times 3 is another commutative property of multiplication where you can change the order of the sum. You may say 3 times 6 is 18 and then 18 times 3. Or you can go 3 times 3 is 9. And then 9 times 6 is 54, which is probably a little bit easier than 18 times 3. Okay, well then if you work through those, it's just to keep you on your toes, keep past principles fresh, and your mental arithmetic on point. Right, let's get into the main theme of today, which, as you know, is time. Okay, so we're going into time today, and at the top of the screen you can see there are 2 different clocks. All right, so the one is an analog clock, the clock on the left, and an analog clock has 2 hands. The hour hand, which is the shorter hand, so the hour hand in this case is pointing to 3, and the minute hand, which is the longer hand, which in this instance is pointing to 12. Okay, so that time is going to be 3 o'clock. On the right hand side is a digital clock, and it's called digital because it uses digits. And you can see there it's got an AM and a PM, so morning and evening, and the hour always comes first. Okay, so there you have your analog and digital clocks. What I'd like you to do, just to start off, there are 4 examples for you on the screen. I'd like you to tell me the times indicated to you on the screen. So if we go through these, you can see the first one, it says in the morning, the hour hand is pointing to the 5 and the minute hand to the 12. So that's going to be 5 a.m. in the morning. The second clock is also in the morning, and the minute hand is pointing to the 6. So that means that it's 30 minutes, as each number on the analog clock is equal to 5 minutes. So you can see there are 12 numbers. 12 times 5 is 60, and that accounts for our 60 minutes in an hour. So that time, the second one is going to be 6:30 in the morning. Your third clock, which indicates the evening, so the minute hand is at 3. So 3 times 5 is 15. So that we know the hour hand is at 8 or just past the 8. So that's going to be 8:15 in the evening. And then your last clock, the minute hand is pointing to the 11th minutes. So you can see it's the first one after 2. and that's pointing, the hour hand is pointing at the 11, so that's going to be 11 minutes past 11. Okay, so that's just a little starter for you, just to kind of get your head around analog and digital times, and how many minutes each number represents, and what the long hand is and what the short hand is. Let's move on and see what we've got next. Okay, so digital time. How would you write these times below? So have a look at them, and when I ask you to press pause and see if you can calculate those answers. And then there are two problems for you at the bottom where you need to choose from a list of times to determine which is the correct answer. So go ahead and do those questions, and let's see how you get on. 8:30 in the evening can be written as 8:30, and remember we need to use PM. Okay, so digital time needs an AM or a PM. 13 minutes to midday. We know that 11 o'clock is before midday, so the hours must be 11. And then 13 minutes before 12, which is midday, is going to be 47, and that's also going to be AM. C, 17 minutes past 5 in the morning, so that's going to be 5:17 AM. And then 10 to 7 in the evening is going to be 6:50, and we need to write PM. Okay, it's not necessary to write for A 08:30 or for C 05:17, because we've got AM and PM. We don't need the two digits for the hours because of the AM and PM. So you can see at the bottom of the screen, I go to a movie that starts at 5:30. It runs for 2 hours. What time does it finish? Okay, so you need to put 2 hours onto 5:30, and you'll get 7:30, which is circled in red. And the second question, I put a cake in the oven at 2:45. It takes 48 minutes to cook. Identify the start and the finishing times. So if we just look at the start time, if you put it in at 2:45, then you should be able to recognize that 2:45 is 2:45. Okay, so that'll be the start time, and then the finishing time, if we add 48 minutes onto 2:45 or 2:45, we get 33 minutes past 3. Okay, so here I'd like you to press pause and identify which time in the middle of the screen, written in words, goes to which clock or which picture. Okay, off you guys go and do that. Okay, so looking at the first clock, it's 16 minutes past 12. All right, so which description fits that? And you're quite correct in saying 3.5 hours after me. Okay, so 3.5 hours after 16 minutes past 12 is going to give you 03:46 or 14 minutes to 4 in the morning. Okay, so that will be your first match, and the key there is actually being able to read 3.5 hours after 3:46. Okay, your second one, 1 hour and 23 minutes after 10. So I'm hoping that you took the 1 hour first and went to 11, and then did the 23 minutes on top of that. And you can see the minute hand is between 20 past and 25 past, and the hour hand is almost in the middle of the 11 and 12 markings. But there's also a second description, 7 minutes before 11:30, and that's also going to be 11:23. Then we've got 15 minutes after 2:30. Okay, so 2:30 is 2:30, so 15 minutes after 2:30 is going to be 2:45, but the clock on the right is also indicating 2:45. So we know when the minute hand is at 9, 9 times 5 is 45, and you can see the hour hand is almost at the 3, so that one is also 15 minutes after 2:30, and that leaves us with 1 hour and 44 minutes before 2 p.m. So if we go back 1 hour before 2 p.m., it's 1 p.m., and then 44 minutes more is going to be 12:16, and you can see the minute hand is pointing at the demarcated number after 3, which is 16 minutes. Okay, great. Now we get on to 24-hour time. Okay, so I've put in a 24-hour time table on the left-hand side indicating AM and PM, and you'll see the bold arrow at 12 in the middle of the table. So that's where we change from AM to PM. So go ahead, see if you can find the matching times for 24-hour time and put those clocks and those times in 24-hour time. Press play when you're ready to have a look at how you did. Right, so if we have a look at the analog clocks first, you can see the first one says AM, okay, and we can see it's the minute hand to the 2, so that's 10 minutes, and the hour hand to the 10, so that's going to stay 10, 10. Okay, 10 minutes past 10, and that's AM. When you write in 24-hour time, you do not need to write AM or PM because the numbers should tell you if it's AM or PM. The middle clock, the hour hand is between the 7 and 8. Okay, so 7 in the evening in 24-hour time is 19. All right, and we can have a look here. That's where it tells us 19. Okay, and we know it's 35 minutes. All right, and then PM for the last clock is 11 for the hour. You can see the hour hand pointing at the 11 and the minute hand at the 5. And we can see from here that 11 is 23. Okay, so it's 23:05. Again, you don't have to put AM or PM as that tells you. So you should be able to identify on the table that to get, when we're in PM, to get from the 1 to the 13, I'm adding 12. To get from 2 to 14, I'm adding 12. To get from 3 to 15, I'm adding 12. So each time, I'm just adding 12 to get the hour, the number for the hour. There's a table below. Okay, this one here. It's just enlarge it a little bit. Okay. And there, 9, you can see 9 is 21. Okay, so that's going to be 21:35, which is 25 to 10, 25 minutes until the next hour, which is 10 o'clock. 12:40 p.m. stays 12:40. All right, so that's 12:40. Okay, 12:40 p.m. 2:45 p.m. will become 14:45. Okay, and there we've already underlined 2 and 14. And then 10:20 a.m. stays 10:20. Okay, so there are your 24-hour times. Okay, at the bottom of your screen, you can see I've asked you to convert the 24-hour times to digital form. So here you would need to use AM or PM. So while I'm talking, I'm hoping that you've managed to work them out. That 23:30 is indeed 11:30 p.m. It's 30 minutes before midnight. And then 02:45 is 2:45, and that is 2:45 in the morning. So we use AM. Okay, so your last part on 24-hour time and reading off clocks and converting to 24-hour time, I would like you to look at all those times, convert them to 24-hour time, and then put them in order from earliest to latest. Press pause, take your time, and see how you get on. Put the times in for you, the 24-hour times in for you, okay? So if you go around the screen and have a look and compare your answers, 20 past 3 in the afternoon is 15:20, 9:35 p.m. is 21:35. Those two analog clocks are on the left, 5 to 5 in the evening and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 12:45 on the right hand side AM, so that's just after midnight, so that's 0045. 4:45 in the morning is 0545. 3:30 in the morning, you've got that one there. 7:05 p.m. is 19:05, and then the bottom analog clock is 19:45, which is 7:45, and you can see the minute hand at the 9, and 9 times 5 is 45, and the hour hand just before the 8. So now we need to put them in order, and we needed to put the earliest first. So the earliest one is going to be 12:45 a.m. Okay, so if you're thinking about when the day starts, it's going to start just at midnight, so 0045 will be first. That will be followed by 2:30 in the morning. Okay, so that will come second. Then we've got 3:30 in the morning, which will come third. Okay, let's put some numbers in there. Then we go to 5:45 in the morning, so that will be fourth. Okay, after 5:45 in the morning, we've got 2 o'clock, so that will be fifth. Then 3:20. Then 5 to 5. Then 5 minutes past 7. 7:45. And last but not least, 25 to 10 or 9:35 p.m. Okay, so guys, I hope you guys understood the concept of time there, and converting to 24-hour time and putting them in order. Please go have a look at the online activity I've left for you guys along with the memo. There's enough practice and enough explanation there for you to fully grasp this concept after doing some of that activity work as consolidation. Guys, here's some real life questions involving time. Please read through the questions carefully, look at the table, press pause, and see how you guys get on. Okay, so the first screening of Feel Good Flick is at 12. What time does it finish? So we can see a Feel Good Flick lasts 90 minutes. So 90 minutes onto 12 is 1:30. Which movie ends at 9:20? And if we have a look at Spooky Movie, it starts at 7:30. 110 minutes is 1 hour and 50 minutes. So 1 hour onto 7:30 is 8:30. And then another 50 minutes will be 9:20. So that's Spooky Movie. Then Sarah arrives at the cinema at 2:45, 2:45 p.m. How long does she have to wait for the next screening of Animated Family? And we can see Animated Family starts at 1500, which is 3 o'clock. So she only needs to wait 15 minutes. So can you identify that 2:45 is actually 14:45, which is then 15 minutes until 1500? And then question number 4, Matt walked out of the 11 o'clock session of High School Woes half an hour before the end. What time did he leave? So we can see High School Woes is 120 minutes, which is 2 hours. So if he left 30 minutes early, he would have been there for an hour and a half, and an hour and a half onto 11 o'clock is 12:30. Okay, grade 6s, there's your finisher for today, the game of 24. I hope you guys are embracing these challenges each day and your mental arithmetic is improving day by day. Use each number on each card and a combination of the multiplication, division, subtraction, addition signs to get an answer of 24, and also see how many different ways you can come up with the answer of 24. Grade 6, thanks very much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Remember the online activities and memos that are there for you on WorksheetCloud.com to consolidate any of this information. Please feel free to go and have a look at previous lessons and previous activities and memo available for you on WorksheetCloud.com and make the most of this opportunity that you've been presented. Have a great day and see you next time. Cheers.